They hadn't spoken publicly in months, not since the memorial, not since the polished tributes and the neatly edited montages. But when Charlie Kirk's parents sat down for a private interview and were asked point-blank if they ever trusted Erika, the silence that followed said more than any headline could. His mother's lips pressed together. His father glanced away. And then, with a voice thick with grief and quiet rage, his mother said, "We never did." That was the moment everything cracked. It wasn't just about a strained in-law relationship anymore, it was about what they saw, what they heard, and what Charlie told them behind closed doors. And now, with Erika pushing a carefully scripted image and avoiding every direct question about the day Charlie died, his parents were ready to speak. They didn't just talk about tension. They talked about red flags, about Erika's obsession with control, about moments Charlie looked scared, not just stressed, and about a chilling conversation he had with them 3 weeks before his final speech. A conversation they never forgot, a warning they didn't understand at the time. But now? Now it feels like he was trying to tell them something they ignored. It started off innocent like most things do. Erika wasn't always a public figure with perfect posture and scripted tears. There was a time, years before the foundations, the spotlights, and the podcasts, when she was just Charlie's girlfriend. A little awkward, overly ambitious, always talking about destiny and timing. Charlie was drawn to that at first. His parents had hoped she'd settle him, maybe even soften him. Instead, they noticed something early on. He got quieter around her. Not reserved, not private, just careful. The Charlie they knew, the one who used to argue passionately over dinner, who would light up at the smallest philosophical debate, started measuring his words. At first, they chalked it up to young love, the kind that reshapes people. But the more Erika showed up, the more their son disappeared in plain sight. The Kirk family didn't confront it right away. They watched. They observed. And they tried to trust his judgment. But Erika was always watching too. Watching them. His mother once described it to a friend as the feeling of being smiled at while held at arm's length. Erika was polite, but never warm. Kind, but never vulnerable. She praised Charlie in public like a trophy husband, but in private, it always felt like she was managing him. Little things started adding up. The way she answered for him in interviews, the way she redirected questions, the way she filtered who could visit their home and who couldn't. Eventually, family visits started requiring media-free days, a term Erika used often, always delivered with a pleasant smile that made you feel guilty for questioning it. Charlie, ever loyal, defended her. "She's just protective of our time," he'd say. "She helps me focus." But his mother couldn't ignore how many texts went unanswered, how many calls went straight to voicemail. On one occasion, she arrived early for a family dinner and found Erika in the kitchen on the phone, whispering fast, pacing. When Erika saw her, she ended the call immediately and smiled like nothing had happened. "Just coordinating travel," she said, and changed the subject. But the look in her eyes wasn't tired, it was calculating. It only got worse after they got married. Erika didn't just become a Kirk, she became the gatekeeper. Friends noticed it too. Charlie's inner circle started shifting. Longtime allies, pastors, even some turning point insiders quietly faded out, replaced by newer voices, people more aligned with Erika's vision than Charlie's past. His father later recalled a moment that haunted him. A dinner where Charlie was asked about something deeply personal. And he paused, looked at Erika, and waited. She answered for him. "He's still processing that," she said, smiling sweetly. And Charlie just nodded, eyes low. But it wasn't just about control. It was about fear. Charlie's mother saw it in his face one night when she brought up the idea of him taking a sabbatical. He stiffened, said he couldn't afford to step away, that the machine doesn't run without me. But it wasn't his words that unsettled her, it was the way he said them. Like he wasn't just worried about letting people down. Like he was afraid of who might step in if he did. Then came the moment she never forgot. 3 weeks before the shooting, Charlie visited alone. No Erika. No media team. Just him. They sat on the porch like they used to, watching the sun dip behind the hills. And in that silence, he said something strange. Something she didn't understand at the time. "If anything ever happens to me, you'll know who really knew me." It wasn't said with fear. It was said with resignation. His mother pressed him. What did that mean? Was he in danger? He laughed it off. Said people love to twist words. That the pressure was just getting heavy. But he looked tired. Not physically. Spiritually. Like a man trying to leave breadcrumbs without triggering an alarm. After he left, she told her husband something felt off. That their son had been in the room, but his voice had felt distant, like a message passed through a window. They talked about calling him again. About pressing him more. But they didn't want to seem intrusive. Erika had already accused them once of bringing unnecessary stress into Charlie's life. They didn't want to risk being cut out altogether, so they stayed quiet. And 3 weeks later, he was gone. And the woman delivering his eulogy didn't shed a single tear. They didn't want to go public. Charlie's parents had been grieving in private, quietly watching the coverage unfold, hearing praise for Erika, seeing her on stages, in interviews, standing behind podiums in widow black. Every tribute she delivered was clean, well-prepared, emotionally calculated, and every time she mentioned Charlie's legacy, she made it sound like she was the only one who ever understood him. The only one he ever trusted. The only one who really knew what he stood for. His parents sat in their home, watching her rewrite their son's story, and for a while, they said nothing. Until Erika said one thing that changed everything. It was a podcast clip. Erika sat with a conservative host and talked about Charlie's final weeks. She said, "Charlie told me everything. We didn't hide things from each other. He always said, if anything happened to him, I'd be the one who would know what to do." Charlie's mother played that sentence back at least 20 times. Because she remembered the conversation she had with her son 3 weeks before the shooting. The words were almost the same. But Charlie hadn't said them to Erika. He'd said them to her. That was the moment the switch flipped. They weren't just watching a woman grieve, they were watching her take ownership of his memory. A version of Charlie that only fit inside her brand. A sanitized, obedient version that didn't argue, didn't resist, didn't ask uncomfortable questions. That wasn't the Charlie they raised. That wasn't the son who used to call them late at night just to vent, or process, or ask for advice. That wasn't the man who told his father over coffee that he was starting to feel like a puppet in his own movement. So they agreed to speak. The interview was private at first. A longtime friend of the family, someone Charlie had trusted, offered to sit down with them on camera, off the record, just to get their perspective. It was supposed to be archived, never aired. But once the footage was recorded, the journalist asked them one question that would change everything. "Do you believe Erika is telling the truth?" Charlie's mother blinked. His father didn't flinch. And then she said it calm, unwavering. "No. That footage leaked. No one knows how. But within 48 hours, it was everywhere, clipped, shared, analyzed. People couldn't believe what they were hearing." Erika had presented a united family front. She had stood beside Charlie's parents at the funeral. She had posted anniversary tributes, but now, his own mother was publicly saying they never trusted her. That Erika was controlling. That she didn't allow Charlie to be alone with his parents in the final months. That every time they texted, Erika would respond instead. "It was like we were being managed," she said. "Like we were on the outside of a story being written without us." Then came the twist. Buried inside that leaked interview was a passage that nearly got missed. Charlie's father pulled out a notebook. It was his, a private one he used for family notes, calls, things Charlie used to say on visits. On the page dated 2 weeks before the shooting, he had written down a quote from Charlie. He read it out loud. "If something ever happens to me, make sure you ask Erika what she was doing that week. And if she hesitates, don't believe her." The room went still. The interviewer froze. Charlie's mother looked down. No one said anything for a full minute. That quote changed everything. Because up until that moment, the suspicion around Erika had been circumstantial. Her tone, her control, her contradictions. But this was Charlie's own words, written down by his father. A warning. Not about politics, not about enemies, about his wife. Within hours, that quote was trending. Commentators, influencers, even people who had stayed neutral, began asking the same question. What did Charlie know? And if Erika was innocent, why would he say that? The timing only made it worse. Erika had just launched a new project, a faith-based leadership academy in Charlie's name. The promo video was polished. She narrated over footage of him speaking, smiling, holding their child. But now, people saw it differently. The voiceover felt rehearsed. The footage, staged. And the title, "The Legacy He Trusted Me With," sounded less like honor and more like ownership. Critics weren't just questioning her grief, they were questioning her involvement. Conservative talk shows that once platformed her began pulling back. Interviews were postponed. Collaborations paused. Behind the scenes, some donors reportedly began asking questions. A whisper campaign started. Was Erika protecting Charlie's mission, or repackaging it for herself? Meanwhile, Mikey McCoy's name resurfaced. Because when Charlie's father read that quote, it triggered another memory. The night after Charlie died, Erika told the family that Mikey had called her within seconds of the shooting. That story had never sat right with them. How had Mikey known to call so quickly? Why wasn't he seen running to Charlie's side? The viral footage showed him walking away, calm, collected, phone already at his ear. And now, with Charlie's warning about Erika being tied to a specific week, people began revisiting the timeline. Because that week was the same one Erika and Mikey's wife Eliza were on vacation together. A private retreat. No location posted. No photos shared. Until after. Now everyone wanted to know. What happened on that trip? Why had Erika and Eliza gone completely dark during those days? And why did Erika, in her Fox interview, slip and say she'd already seen the autopsy just hours after it was supposedly released? The public started demanding answers. But Erika stayed quiet. Mikey? Still no call logs. And Charlie's parents? They said they had more to share. Letters, messages, voice notes, but only if the public wanted to hear them. The answer? Thousands of comments, emails, and posts begging them to speak again. Because now, the question wasn't, did Erika love Charlie? It was, did Charlie know she didn't? In the aftermath of the leaked interview, the silence that followed was almost more deafening than the confession itself. Erika didn't respond, not even a PR statement, not a story, not a vague Instagram quote, not a single like or share. But Charlie's parents? They were just getting started. What had begun as grief finally cracked open into something else, resolve, because now they understood what their son had been trying to warn them about, the calculated moves, the changing inner circle, the eerie silence around his phone. It wasn't paranoia, it was a pattern. 3 days after the interview aired, Charlie's mother posted something unexpected, not on her personal page, but anonymously through a digital archive linked to a private grief support forum. She uploaded a scan of a handwritten letter, torn at the edges, the ink slightly smeared. It was dated exactly 11 days before Charlie's death. At the top, in messy handwriting, it read, "Do not let this fall into the wrong hands." The letter wasn't long, but what it said was enough to make readers gasp. "They've started planning something I'm not comfortable with. Erika says it's strategic. Mikey says it's secured. I keep telling them this feels wrong. She says I overthink, but I know what I'm feeling. And if something happens, tell my parents to look at the week of the retreat." That's where it all began. The retreat. The same one Erika and Eliza had gone on without any documentation. No photos. No itinerary. No media footprint whatsoever. It had been one of the few times Erika had completely disappeared from the public eye. Charlie hadn't gone with her. And afterward, he was different. Paranoid, closed off, focused, but uneasy. And now, the note confirmed. He was worried. Not about outside threats, but about the people closest to him. The letter leaked in under an hour. Reddit threads lit up. TikTok creators dissected the handwriting. Twitter Spaces debated whether the letter was real or manufactured. Erika's defenders claimed it was fabricated, but those who knew Charlie's family said the paper had been stored for weeks, quietly, painfully, waiting for the moment it could no longer be ignored. But the story didn't stop there, because the next day, someone else stepped forward. Her name was Bethany James, a former assistant to the TPUSA events director, and someone who had quietly worked backstage during Charlie's final live event. She had signed NDAs, kept quiet through it all, but when the letter surfaced, she broke. She posted a video, clearly shaken, with no background music, no lighting, no script, just her, raw and scared. "I wasn't going to say anything," she said, eyes wide. "I liked Erika. At first, she was strong, polished, but something changed before Charlie's last event. The energy, the prep, the tension. It was like everyone was pretending they didn't know what was coming." Then she dropped the bombshell. She claimed that Erika had explicitly told her to make sure cameras kept rolling, no matter what happened on stage. "She said it twice," Bethany whispered. "She looked me straight in the face and said, 'No matter what happens, keep rolling, don't stop, even if it's chaos.' I thought it was about crowd control, about protesters. But now, I don't know what to think." People lost it. Because that quote, "make sure cameras stay rolling," was almost word for word from the group chat leak allegedly posted by Mikey McCoy's wife. The one that said, "We've rehearsed this, cameras stay rolling, Erika already knows." Bethany's post confirmed a terrifying possibility. The language had been used verbatim by Erika to someone else, independently, on the record. Suddenly, the theory that this was an inside job didn't feel like a fringe conspiracy anymore. It felt like the walls were closing in. Back at TPUSA, things began to fracture. Staffers unfollowed Erika. Anonymous posts on internal whistleblower forums claimed employees were being offered exit packages in exchange for silence. One particularly haunting message read, "We were told not to bring up the letter. And if asked, deny Bethany was ever assigned to media." But the public wasn't buying it. Viewers, supporters, even past donors were demanding accountability. Where were the phone logs? Why hadn't Erika released security footage of the retreat location? Why did Mikey McCoy still refuse to address the inconsistencies? And why did Erika not once mention the letter when asked in private follow-up interviews? Instead, she pivoted. She posted a clip of Charlie holding their child. A voiceover of his speech about courage. No caption. Just the hashtags. Number legacy. Number love. Number unshakable. But no matter how hard she tried to control the optics, the story had outgrown her. Because now, it wasn't just Charlie's family or a few internet detectives pointing fingers. It was someone inside her circle. Bethany's video hit 2 million views in a week. And then, she went quiet. All her accounts deleted. Her number disconnected. Her LinkedIn vanished. And that's when the second twist truly hit. The last post she made before going dark, a single image, a scanned envelope, handwritten on the front, "To be opened if I go missing." The world didn't react quietly. Once the letter surfaced and Bethany vanished, the entire narrative around Charlie Kirk's death shifted like a fault line cracking beneath a polished mansion. The illusion of unity, the staged grief, the carefully cropped family photos, the inspiring hashtags, it all began to unravel. For the first time since the shooting, the public wasn't just grieving, they were furious. Furious at the silence, furious at the contradictions, furious that the people who claimed to honor Charlie's legacy were starting to look like the ones who betrayed it. News networks scrambled. Right-wing hosts who had once praised Erika's strength began distancing themselves. Podcasts replayed the clip of Charlie's father reading that letter again and again. The sentence about Erika, the retreat, the planning, it became a chilling mantra. People were no longer asking if Erika had secrets. They were now demanding to know how deep they went. TPUSA issued a single sterile statement. We continue to mourn Charlie Kirk's death and reject baseless conspiracies. But it was too late. The conspiracy didn't feel baseless anymore. It felt like a puzzle finally clicking into place. Even within TPUSA, a quiet war ignited. Anonymous leaks from staffers started appearing in underground forums. One claimed Erika had banned all staff from speaking to Charlie's parents after the funeral. Another alleged she had destroyed handwritten notes Charlie kept on his desk. One message simply said, "She burned the real version of him." It didn't matter if it was true, it felt true. And that was enough to rupture trust. Former donors started pulling out. Internal memos leaked, showing a nearly 40% drop in fundraising over just 2 weeks. The words, "crisis PR," became a recurring theme in Erika's orbit. Meanwhile, at the grassroots level, people were breaking down. Loyal followers of Charlie began filming emotional videos, some crying, some shaking with rage, others just stunned. One young man in a Turning Point hoodie said, "I looked up to this man. And now I feel like I didn't know him at all. Or worse, maybe I knew him better than the people closest to him did." Thousands of comments echoed the same sentiment. We want the truth, not the version she's selling. Charlie's parents weren't celebrating the public vindication. If anything, they seemed more broken than ever. In a follow-up video posted quietly on a conservative blog, Charlie's mother wiped tears from her eyes and said, "We weren't trying to destroy anyone. We just wanted to stop pretending." The pain in her voice wasn't anger. It was guilt. Guilt that they hadn't spoken up sooner. Guilt that they'd seen the red flags but stayed silent to keep the peace. Guilt that their son had left them breadcrumbs, and they didn't follow them until it was too late. But Erika didn't blink. She didn't break down. She didn't disappear. Instead, she re-emerged with a new look, a new video, and a new story. She uploaded a glossy 5-minute tribute titled, "Charlie's Light Lives On." It showed childhood clips of him, their wedding photos, their baby's first steps. The music swelled. Her voiceover was soft, broken, trembling but scripted. And then came the line that reignited the fire. "Charlie told me I was the only one he trusted with his truth." It felt like a direct shot at his parents. A final claim to the throne of his memory. But this time, the internet didn't praise her composure. They called her manipulative, cold, unbelievable. Even mainstream outlets began to question her narrative. Journalists requested interviews. She declined. Requests for Mikey McCoy's call logs resurfaced. TPUSA refused. And when asked if she'd be willing to release security footage from the retreat property, Erika's spokesperson issued a chilling reply. "That location is private. There is nothing relevant to share." But the damage was done. What had once been whispers were now headlines. Was Charlie Kirk's death an inside job? Parents versus widow. The legacy battle begins. Leaked letter points to premeditation weeks before shooting. And in the middle of it all, Erika Kirk stood smiling, blinking slowly, holding Charlie's child in one arm while waving with the other. The image didn't bring comfort, it brought questions. Too many questions. The people who had once followed her felt betrayed. The family that once tried to protect her now viewed her as the enemy. And the man whose name she spoke at every press event may have spent his final days afraid of her. That's not grief. That's war. It was supposed to be over. Or at least, quieting down. Erika's tribute video had circulated. The media buzz had begun to shift toward the midterms. TPUSA was back to posting edited clips of Charlie's past speeches, carefully steering the narrative back to patriotism and legacy. But something had changed in the tone, a discomfort, a pause between words. A growing sense that the public no longer believed what they were seeing. Still, no one expected what came next. Not from his parents, not from an insider, and certainly not from Charlie himself. The envelope arrived anonymously. No return address, no fingerprints, just a black seal stamped with the letters CK, Charlie's initials. It was mailed to a small conservative podcast studio that had interviewed Charlie's father weeks prior. Inside, a USB drive. No label. Just one file. A voice recording. 7 minutes long. At first, it was static. Wind. Then, Charlie's voice, unmistakable, low, tired, recorded late at night. The timestamp matched a date just 5 days before the shooting. And what he said next shattered everything. If you're hearing this, then I guess my instincts were right. I'm not trying to scare anyone. I just need the truth to survive, even if I don't. Erika's not who you think she is. She's been talking to people behind my back about leadership shifts, about what happens if I step down. Only, I never said I would. The recording went silent for 5 seconds, then continued. I caught her with Mikey one night after a fundraiser. They weren't doing anything physical, but they were whispering, papers in hand. Something about a transition plan. I asked her what it was, and she laughed. Told me I was paranoid, but I saw the name, my name, in red ink, underlined. He took a deep breath. They're not going to hurt me directly. They're smarter than that. But I'm not crazy. Something's coming. If it does, ask who benefits. And don't let her cry on camera like she didn't know. She always knew. The file ended abruptly. The internet didn't. The recording spread like wildfire, making its way from Telegram groups to Reddit to mainstream news. TikTokers looped the final line, she always knew. Podcasters called it the dead man's message. And for the first time, even Erika's most loyal defenders began to fall silent. No one could explain it away. No one could argue with the voice of a man who was gone but clearly saw the storm before it came. Erika responded 36 hours later with a lawyer. A cease and desist was issued against the podcast studio, demanding they take down the file. But it was too late. It had been copied, cloned, transcribed, and it confirmed what Charlie's parents had said all along. He didn't trust her. Not in the end. Not when it mattered most. And just when the public thought that was the peak of it, Candace Owens posted a screenshot. It was a message from an anonymous number. 4 words. He recorded more. Find it. So now you've heard it. The voice of a man who saw something coming. The family he trusted trying to protect what little of his truth they can still hold on to. And the woman who once stood beside him now standing at the center of every question. The world thought it knew what happened to Charlie Kirk. They called it tragic, sudden, senseless. But now, with every new leak, every vanishing witness, every silence soaked in calculation, we're beginning to see what Charlie may have seen all along. And here's the hardest part: to accept someone is still hiding something. The recording wasn't a goodbye. It was a warning, a breadcrumb, a signal to anyone brave enough to keep digging. And now? The next piece might already be out there. Another file, another voice, another betrayal waiting to be dragged into the light. The only question is, will it surface before the silence wins again? So now I ask you, what would you do if your son left a warning no one believed? Would you stay silent to protect your family's name? Or would you burn the whole thing down to set the truth free? Do you believe Erika's tears or Charlie's voice? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Share this with someone who needs to see what's happening. And subscribe now, because in part 2, the next recording is coming, and it will change everything. This isn't over. Not even close. See you in the next chapter.